Hey everybody, happy Friday. We made it through another week and we have quite an educational, insightful chat lined up today with Gcore, a big player in the everything as a service space with a true expert from Gcore, actually live from Kazakhstan. Gcore is a Luxembourg headquartered company, very well known in Europe, maybe less known here in the US. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you? Thank you for inviting me, by the way.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. Always love to dive into cloud infrastructure topics. Before that, maybe introduce yourself, your role at Gcore, and a little bit about the overall mission of the company.
My role at Gcore, I'm leading product management for platform as a service, and I will explain it a bit later. What does it mean, like platform as a service or managed products? And actually, our goal as a company is to empower the world with edge solutions, which allow to get a lot of value for the businesses from the cloud and specifically from AI scenarios as well. And we will cover that today also.
Well, it's an exciting time to be in your space. Very timely dive into everything as a service. How would you describe ad a service? You look after platform as a service, but in the context of Gcore's offerings, what does as a service mean?
Yes, this is very important concept, what we call as a service, something as a service, or there is like similar phrasing of that as a managed service. And as you perfectly know, the whole idea of the cloud at the beginning started from actually provisioning like virtual machines when you get rid of necessity to maintain your own local hardware and you just like use the virtual machine which is based on the hardware somewhere in the internet. And this helped a lot at the early days of the actually cloud computing. But when the industry matured, there are like a lot of other challenges. Even if you are able to like have something like virtual machine in the cloud, to build really complex systems, you still have to do a lot of things in terms of setting up the services, the middleware, setting up the actually software components for fault tolerance, for scalability. So there are still a lot of burden on your shoulders to really be able to run like global scale service and ensure that it's fault tolerant. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources. So the idea of managed services or platform as a service is when the cloud provider takes responsibility on setting this up and maintaining, so you don't have to like manually provision virtual machines and configure them for your services. You're just able to put your code and your data into the system, and cloud provider manages all the underlying maintenance to make this solution scalable, fault tolerant, elastic, if we can say it in like cloud terms. So you can really focus on like your business logic on your application, not on the huge burden of all the underlying software infrastructure. So this is the whole idea, and this is our focus as a company in terms of platform as a service solution. So we allow customers to really focus on their building the software and solutions they need while we taking care of all the maintenance stuff to ensure that it's secure, it's scalable, and it can run at a global scale with the best performance and the lowest latency. So this is the whole idea.
Oh, what a great explanation, overview. Well, let's dive into container as a service, something you're offering, a very hot topic today. Of course, containers are the de facto way of deploying and managing applications now in the enterprise. But what is container as a service, and how does it simplify this world of application development?
Yes, actually, it follows the same trend as the whole motion of the platform as a service, because This whole story of having managed service, actually this story was enabled by containerization as a very
Mm,
important piece, which allowed us to really go from provisioning virtual machine images, which are big and use a lot of resources, to much more granular but still fully isolated pieces of application code and functionality as containers. So this is like very important progression of technology, which allowed us to do it. And in terms of like containerization, there are like several approaches. And we as provider give our customers the choice. We have what we call managed Kubernetes. If you would like to really have bigger control on all the orchestration and all the configuration of the Kubernetes as a way to run those containers, we allow you to do it. But if for your specific scenario or for the set of scenarios, you just would like to take the container image you have and make it run in the cloud, we provide focused service as a container as a service. So you don't have to the manage all the orchestration
mm,
parameters. Which is good, by the way, for some of the scenarios. So you can mix and match. For some, for some part of your service, you can use managed Kubernetes, but for some part where you don't need this level of granularity in terms of like control, those settings, you can use just container as a service and run and scale this container automatically, and again save additional time. And it's very important to actually save the time on the setting the things up and maintaining, because it allows you to make it faster to the market. In terms of your solution, you can just run it much faster, and it's again easier to maintain. So this is the whole idea of container as a service, to give you additional choice. So you have the choice to work with orchestration, but also you have the choice to just run your container in the cloud with minimal effort. This is the whole idea.
well, sounds so elegant and straightforward. Of course, it's you've engineered it that way. That sounds intriguing. And talk about how that is different from traditional hosting solutions, or maybe some of the benefits of using Gcore for container as a service versus your average hyperscaler or local provider.
Yes, and if we take the hosting approach, which is like closer to like traditional VM based approach
Mm,
in a lot of senses, there are very important, I would say, like technical and business factors to consider. So from let's start from business factors first of all. Uh, while using actually container as a service or the platform services, you're actually paying only for active container time. So you are
mm,
paying only for the time when your containers are executing customer requests. And with all the auto scaling goodness, when the load grows, the number of containers scales up and actually scales out. There are
mm,
additional instances of those containers to handle the traffic. But when the load decreases, because it's a sales season, for instance, and there is of
mm,
course some seasonality in terms of the months, but there of course seasonality in terms of like the daytime, like business hours, non-business hours, and for every time the system automatically adjusts the number of containers to process all the customer requests with a good performance and lowest latency. And you're saving like a lot of money, because imagine without auto scaling, if you just have hosting, I don't know, with virtual machine, which runs all
mm,
the time, to avoid any customer dissatisfaction, you have to run a lot of virtual machines to be ready for the highest possible traffic,
ah,
to avoid losing customer during hot sales season, for instance. But that means that during all the time when the system is not used at full capacity, you're actually losing the money, and a lot
mm,
of money. And in my previous experience, there were cases where customers were losing, I don't know, 70 or 80% of money, because the average
wow,
utilization of their resources before using auto scaling and platform services was 10%. That means 90% of the money are just wasted.
Oh,
And
wow.
so this is huge business reason actually to use the platform services and auto scaling. It just saves tons of money. And also there are of course technical important technical things, because auto scaling, it's not only about cost savings, it's also about good performance when there are spikes, significant spikes in the traffic. Because even if you imagine like, okay, we are going to have like great sale, like, or like, our service is going to be like very popular, so let's, I don't know, put I don't know, 100 VMs. There is still a chance that your service will be even more popular, and this is star moment. This is star moment, like, for your company, and you don't want to screw up this like star moment. And this is the whole elegance of the cloud, because you can go higher than you expected with automatic
Mm.
scaling. So it could be like 100 VMs, 200 VMs. I mean, under the hood. So you're able even to handle much higher traffic than you originally anticipated, without wasting money, and at the same time provide very good performance. This is technical and a customer facing factor of performance. And of course, there is also important factor of fault tolerance, because when your system like works at the very high load, uh, again, you have to ensure that it's like fault tolerant, and all this scalability comes with availability as well. And this is also the area where the managed service helps a lot, because actually the cloud provider team puts their expertise to ensure that the system can really sustain very high load with a good fault tolerance, high availability, and great comfort for the customer.
Oh, fantastic. Win-win all around. So you're working with many large blue chip companies where security is fundamental. I guess it should be fundamental in every industry, but particularly financial services and finance and banking, et cetera. How can you ensure the security of these applications in the enterprise? What's your philosophy around that?
Yes, there are like multiple factors. Again, there are like some technical decisions and like technical features. Like for instance, for container as a service, we have support of IP case authorization, so you can like allow access to your container logic or container code all only through special like authorization key. Also, you can configure such a things like using private registries with authentication to pull the container images, like for your CI/CD and the workflow. So there are a set of technical features, and of course there are a set of like mix of organization and technical features, because we have special actually certifications in terms of the security focus, like PCI DSS, like ISO certifications, and they allows us, and of course we are GDPR compliant, and this allows actually to have all the goodness of like high performance, scalability, and fault tolerance together with authorization, access management, security, and actually support of industry standards and our certification as a cloud provider in terms of security.
Oh, well done. Good to hear. So you've seen a surge of interest in AI, ML training at the edge, given your unique positioning there. How is that being leveraged? And how are you helping with AI training, in general?
Yes, this is very important question, because I have mentioned that like our mission as a company is to really help to unleash the AI scenarios with cloud edge solutions. So what are like specific features and specific focus, for instance, in container as a service to really support AI scenarios? So in terms of AI, there are two big pieces which we need as an industry to make it work. There is of course training piece, where actually the data scientists or engineers are training the models, LLM models, generative models, and other models to really reach the level of like accuracy and like predictable behavior for those models. But when you reach that point, then comes critically important second piece of the story, which is inference, which is actually serving this prepared model to end customers. So you can use like tools like ChatGPT, or you can generate images or do like, live translation. It's all about interacting of customers with the model. And for this interaction, it's very important that the model as a computing resource scales efficiently. So all this auto scaling is critically important for inference. And because again, if there is no auto scaling, then your customers won't get good experience because performance will be not so good. Or if there is no auto scaling, you will lose money when there are less of customer requests for specific point in time. This is why actually service is very much focused on the AI scenarios, and actually we're using our container as a service for our inference at the edge product, which is 100% focused on AI scenarios. Also, there is in terms of those inference model for AI, one of the most popular ways actually to package and run those models for inference scenarios is container images. So this is natural place to run AI inference models as in a container as a service. There is one more very important and interesting part of this story. It is support of zero scaling. So there is auto scaling, but there is also zero scaling. What does it mean? If for some reason, for some period of time, there are no requests at all, we can scale the number of container instances down to zero. So you pay nothing. So when there are no requests, you pay nothing. And only when you launch some campaign or launch your product, or there is some regional usage, and people wake up in the morning and start using it, then system automatically spins up the first, second, third, and other instances of containers. So this saves money even more. For AI scenarios, there is also one very important piece of equation is it is latency actually. So it's not only important for the model to the process some request in some time, but it's also very important to be able to get the response when it's processed as soon as possible. Because now we see that AI is used more and more in interactive scenarios. And there are more and more areas where AI is integrated. And you can imagine if you have AI tool like chatbot, like some, video assistance tool, some live translation tool, you would like to get response as soon as possible. And that's why latency is really critical. If you have minimal latency, you have the best customer experience. And this is also very important focus for our inference at the edge and container as a service as a platform to run those inference models. We have a technology which we called smart routing, which actually allows to run customer requests from any geography to the container as a service location, which is geographically closest to this customer. So they get the minimum possible latency. And for for the developer or the company developing those AI solutions, it's super easy to configure this behavior through our customer portal or API. So they just take the container image with their inference model. They actually link this image to the container as a service configuration, and they turn on the smart routing option. And yes, as you're demonstrating, we have a lot of points of presence. And this model will be rolled out actually globally to specific regions. And when requests are coming from various locations, this request will go to the closest instance of container as a service, so the customers will get the minimal latency and the fastest response for their inference model interaction. This is very, very important in the age of AI because it's make it so much more interactive and useful for the bigger set of scenarios. This is a very important point, and this is our really big bet in terms of innovation in those areas. And one more advantage also from architectural perspective we allow to have to our customers is actually customization. There are a set of providers who allow you to just use some of the pre-built AI models. With our container as a service and inference at the edge approach, you can take any custom model packaged as container image and run in our platform services and get all this goodness of auto scaling, of minimal latency with smart routing, zero scaling to save even more, security, customization, and all the goodness. So AI is, as you can see, is very important for us, and we are making very specific innovations in this area to make it more comfortable for our customers.
Yeah, it's very impressive. You also, I see, integrate with a lot of third-party services and partner solutions. You have APIs for granularity. How does that work, this integration process? Because it is a pretty complex landscape these days.
Yes, so we actually there are multiple ways to configure and use container as a service or inference at the edge specifically for AI scenarios. Of course, just to get started, we have customer portal where you can spin up and configure service through the UI just to maybe discover what other features are available. But at the same time, we provide all the management through API. So you can configure and automate everything you need through the API to integrate with your existing
Mm.
solutions, your existing services. Plus, to make it super convenient, specifically for container management scenarios, we support integration with GitHub Actions. So again, you can streamline your CI/CD pipelines and integrate container as a service into those pipelines again to automate all the processes related to the container rollout, container deployment, to get all this goodness of auto scaling, geo presence, and smart routing stuff. So yeah, our approach is to be open and transparent and get full functional access to all the features, all the customizations of our platform through API, have your usability option through UI, and make integrations with popular tools like GitHub and specifically GitHub Actions. So this is our approach.
Wow, very forward thinking. So you have so many use cases and customers, it's probably hard to generalize, but are there some common use cases or industries or verticals? I see lots of work in financial services and media, entertainment, also gaming. I guess any industry is a potential customer.
Yes, absolutely. And as I have already mentioned, that we focus as an edge provider to be as close as possible to where the customers are and where the customers of our customers are to minimize the latency, to have the best performance. This is really important, unique value proposition we are focusing our efforts on. So all the industries which are sensitive to the latency, and there are now more and more of this kind of industries because all these
Mm.
scenarios, all the cloud scenarios, all the service scenarios, they are integrated in everyday life. So it's not only gaming, the finance. More and more industries are really becoming more and more sensitive for the latency. But as you said, actually it started from gaming because gaming
Mm.
was one of the very first industries which were super critical for the latency because they started practicing online multiplayer scenarios.
Mm,
And for
mm,
online multiplayer, as you can imagine, this is super critical to like have like
mm,
the minimal latency. So when like people are like in different locations, they can play with each other online with great comfort. But now, yeah, with financial also, it's like, all the trading, all the ability to have like, financial information with minimal latency to make the right decision or automate right decision. It's also critical. And now again, AI, all the interactive models like speech recognition, like speech voice recognition,
mm.
all the processing like of live videos, like our live cast right now. So if we have some like AI goodness to, I don't know, add some useful stuff to our live conversation, it's critical to have lowest latency
Yeah,
because again, if we like do simultaneous translation to another language, we would like to have the translation immediately, not after like 5 seconds or 10 seconds when like context is completely switched
yeah.
and I'm
There we
showing
go.
something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm
some Gen
showing
AI
something
here in the
different.
background.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, now there are more and more these kind of scenarios. It could be not only like software-based scenarios, it could be hardware-based scenarios like IoT. You perfectly know there are like billions of IoT, Internet of Things devices across the globe, and some of them are also like critical for low latency when they are interacting with like backend services. So actually, sky is the limit in terms of the relevant industry or the scenarios. That's why we are heavily investing because we are really believing that those edge cloud approach with the highest possible performance and lowest latency is something which is very much needed by modern IT world and modern AI world. So this is what
Well, it's an
what we
exciting
believe.
time, and you're at the right place at the right time. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey, if you would. I love your enthusiasm and excitement for this space. I think you spent 16 plus years at Microsoft.
Yes,
That's quite a
exactly.
ride.
Yes, absolutely. And this was very, very interesting experience. And actually, this experience gave me a lot of energy to uh, build something like on my own as well.
Mm.
And that's why I have joined actually Gcore because now we can do really interesting things. And, again, sky is the limit. Now is a time of very significant changes thanks to AI. And if you take like background in terms of the cloud experience and combine it with what AI needs actually to be successful and be accessible for a lot of scenarios and much more people than before, uh, you see the opportunity. It's really critical to bring those computing resources, both in terms of the software and the hardware, closer to the customers. Like this is whole idea of edge cloud, and yeah, that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. Well, great insights. Thanks for sharing your vision and mission. Very exciting. And you are based in Kazakhstan. I've only seen pictures. It looks like a beautiful country. You have mountains and incredible landscapes. What are you looking forward to this summer? I imagine there's some getting out into the wilds in your future.
Yes, absolutely. This is a very beautiful place because those nice and big mountains are very close to the city. So you don't have
Mm,
to travel like, I don't know, 100 miles. It's super close. It's like 30 minutes drive and
wow.
you can use like the cable car and get to the
Mm,
something like 3 miles height at the mountain and see
wow.
like beautiful landscapes and have a great hiking and trekking. So beautiful place. Very much recommended to anyone who would like to
Okay.
experience nice
Well,
nature.
it's on my bucket list. So yes, indeed. Thanks so much for joining me and just sharing your insight into the landscape of platform as a service.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Take care.